Good afternoon. The time is 4:05, and I'd like to call the meeting of the State Allocation Board, meeting to order. Before we get started, I just wanted a little bit of housekeeping. This meeting is being held in person at the East End Complex Auditorium at 1500 Capitol Avenue in Sacramento, California, 95814, for anyone that would like to provide public comment in person. The meeting is also being conducted by way of Zoom meeting for members of the public that would like to participate remotely. In order for this meeting to run efficiently for those participating remotely, please note the following guidelines. 1, all attendees will be muted during the meeting. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please use the raised hand feature in the Zoom meeting interface. I will call your name at the appropriate time, and OPSC staff will request to unmute you. Secondarily, if you are calling into the meeting and not using a computer or the Zoom application on a mobile device, you'll be unable to provide public comment at this time. The board will be meeting in closed session upon the conclusion of the general meeting pursuant to Government Code Section 11126E2A for the purpose of conferring with and receiving advice from legal counsel regarding pending litigation. At this time, Ms. Jones, will you please call the roll, noting any members joining us from a remote location?
Certainly. Senator Laird.
Here.
Thank you. And he's a virtual participant. Senator Perez. Senator Choi.
Here.
Assemblymember Marisucci.
Here.
And that is a virtual participation. Assemblymember Davies. Here. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Here.
Juan Morales.
Here.
Jeremy Smith.
Here.
Ana Lasso. Here. Michelle Peralta. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Moving right along, we'll go ahead and move on to our minutes. Are there any comments or questions from board members on the minutes? Seeing none, are there any public comments on the minutes? Motion to move. All right, we have a motion by Assemblymember Davis. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Choi. Please have a roll call.
Senator Laird.
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Choi.
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralta.
Aye.
Peralta, aye. And that motion carries.
We're going to go ahead, apologies, due to technical difficulties, we are going to go ahead and take the agenda a little out of order, and we are going to go ahead and move into closed session. So
Thank you, Liz. When we're ready, closed session.
okay, are we already recording? Can I bring this back in?
Oh, excellent.
Yes, okay. All right. Again, apologies. We're having some technical difficulties. We're just going to talk really loudly here in the room. If you need us to speak up, those of you that are online, please just let us know, and we will try to do our best. We are going to go ahead and reconvene from closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126E2A. The State Allocation Board met in closed session regarding developments in and the status of 2 pending litigation cases. The case entitled California School Finance Authority, a state agency, versus today's Fresh Start in Los Angeles County Superior Court, case number 23 STC P03750, and case entitled California School Finance Authority, a state agency, versus Los Angeles Unified School District in Los Angeles County Superior Court, case number 23 STC P03720. Closed session has concluded and no actions were taken by the board. At this time, we're going to go ahead and go back to our second item, which is the executive officer statement, and we will proceed from there. Ms. Kirk?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to test and see if the Zoom participants can hear me. Senator Laird or Assemblymember Maritsucci?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Apologies again, everyone, for the technical difficulties with our audio today. In the Executive Officer's statement on stamped pages 10 and 11 in today's agenda, we have updates on the 3 stakeholder meetings that OPSC staff have held since the last board meeting on June 25th. That makes 14 stakeholder meetings that we've held thus far this year to inform regulatory development, implementing numerous provisions of Proposition 2, as well as addressing other issues. And we remain thankful and appreciative to stakeholders for participation in that process. I'm also happy to share some updates with the Board of Interest coming out of the enacted state budget. There is an appropriation of Proposition 2 bond authority and state school site utilization fund revenue, as well as additional positions for the Office of Public School Construction to implement Proposition 2 and continue administering the school facility program. There is also an appropriation of $50,000 one-time general fund for administrative costs for the Office of Public School Construction to implement California State Auditor recommendations to engage our stakeholder process to consider updates to the facility inspection tool. The Office of Public School Construction anticipates presenting this topic at a stakeholder meeting this fall. The enacted budget also redirects $177.5 million in remaining general fund money that was previously appropriated in prior budget acts back to the general fund due to the state budget shortfall. The Education Omnibus Budget Trailer Bill that was recently enacted has 2 provisions of interest. One that clarifies that school districts with remaining lease purchase program funds from the program that preceded the school facility program are not required to report or return interest earned or residual funds to the Office of Public School Construction, and they may expend any remaining funds and associated interest on other capital outlay expenditures. Additionally, this Education Omnibus Budget Trailer Bill restores the board's authority to provide excessive cost hardship grants in longstanding school facility program regulations retroactively for applications submitted on or after October 31st, 2024. Today's consent agenda does include amended funding shells for 2 facility hardship seismic mitigation applications that were approved earlier this year in order to add their eligible excessive cost hardship grants. Additionally, we do have in our consent agenda today adjustments to 3 projects that previously received unfunded approvals earlier this year and now have been able to submit required information to demonstrate that under Proposition 2 provisions for the points-based determination and sliding scale for the required state and local matching shares, that they are eligible for an additional state contribution. The next meeting of the State Allocation Board is scheduled for Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions from the board on the executive officer's statement? Okay. Are there any public comments about the executive? Okay. Seeing none, this is not an action item. So Ms. Kirk, could please include the consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today's consent agenda is on stamped pages 12 through 81 of the agenda. I request the board approve the consent agenda, and I'm pleased to address any questions.
Sure.
Great. Before we move into a motion, I just wanted to note, if it would please the board, I would like to suggest that we remove the 2 Plumas Lake Elementary School District applications on stamp pages 45 and 46 from the vote on the consent agenda for a separate consideration. I need to abstain from that vote on those 2 applications due to my association with that school district. Is there any concern from the board on doing that? Seeing none? Okay. Before I move then for the remainder of the consent agenda item, are there any other questions from board members? No? Are there any public comments on the consent agenda minus stamp pages 46 and 45, 46? No? Okay. I believe I have a motion from Senator Choi. Is there a second? Second by Assemblymember Quirk Silva. Please have a roll.
Senator Laird.
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Choi.
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davy. Aye. Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva. Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso. Aye. Lasso, aye. Michelle Pearl. Aye. Pearl, aye.
Hi, you didn't call my name.
Okay, I did not see your face, so Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. We'll go ahead now and please take up the remainder of the consent agenda item, which is to request board approval for stamp pages 46 or 45 and 46 for Plymouth Lake Elementary School District. Is there a motion on these two items?
Second.
Motion by Member Lasso, and I think seconded by Assemblymember Davies. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Laird.
Aye.
Okay, Laird, aye. Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi.
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies. Aye. Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva. Aye. Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales. Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Pearl.
Abstain.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that motion
And
carries.
that motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies, got ahead of you there. All right, we will go ahead now and move on to our financial reports. Ms. Kirk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today's financial reports are on stamped pages 82 through 98 of the agenda. I'm pleased to address any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board on the financial reports? Seeing none, are there any public comments? All right, seeing none, this is not an action item, so we'll go ahead and proceed on to our first action item, which is to seek approval from the board to extend general site development grants for 5 years. Is that correct? Am I in the right spot? Oh, yes. Great. I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you. We're on page 99 of the agenda. This action item is to extend proposed extension of the general site development grant for the school facility program. This grant is for some new construction projects as a supplemental grant that acquire new land for covering their hardscapes, their grading, foot traffic, driveways, and what have you. This grant is currently set to expire on January 1st of 2026. The grant was created back in 2005 when the board was exploring whether the work covered under this grant was covered under the base grants for the school facility program. After a study by the Office of Public School Construction and an ad hoc committee, it was undetermined, so the board created this grant to provide this work for construction projects. The grant has had annual extensions since 2005, with a few exceptions. There were some extended extensions by the board. Most recently in 2018, the board extended the grant for Proposition 51 for 5 years to allow us to process that grant continuously, and again in 2023 after the general fund monies came available. Today, staff is recommending a 5-year extension to January 1st of 2031. If the board approves these regulations, staff will file them on a non-emergency basis. We will submit them to the Office of Administrative Law so that they would be effective by January 1st of 2026. And with that, there'll be no gap in funding for the construction project. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Yes, Member Quirk Silva.
I don't have any problem with the extension, but as a new member, I'm wondering, and there's, I think 800 pages in this agenda, and I'm not asking to look for it now, but do you have any type of document that would give us an idea of when the awards go out, how long they're taking to be processed, and then the jurisdiction across the state of California? So if I look through some of these facility grants, is there any type of mapping that you do to kind of show us where these allocations are coming in from and who receives them? And then again, related to this item, if there's an average in extensions, because 5 years, and sometimes when looking at this, it does not foresee any reasons, just to get a better sense of, how long projects are taking to, from beginning to end, where the awards are, like kind of at a glance, I guess is what I'm saying. And the budget sub-chair of the state of California, related to administration, and we kind of see a little bit of projects. Are they kind of limping forward, or is there other projects that just move very quickly? And if there's, so it's kind of a macro question, I guess, is what I'm asking here.
Sure, I can address at least a portion of that, I hope, as someone member. For one thing, within the financial reports of today's agenda and in each agenda, there is a lot. It's a very dense agenda, as you mentioned. In today's agenda on stamped pages 96 through 98, I would note there is some information specific to Proposition 2 awards. So on page 96, there's a map of the state of California's counties, and it indicates in sort of a graphic form there the amount and distribution of unfunded approvals for the 165 school facility program projects among 84 districts that the board had approved so far this year as of July 31st, 2025. The next page, 97, indicates the same map by county that indicates our workload, the workload that we're currently processing that we anticipate can be a point in time, anticipate may be funded with available Proposition 2 resources, and the distribution by county. And then finally on page 98, that's more of a table form that lists each county and then breakdowns of the amount that has been apportioned, which for now shows $0 because all of the Proposition 2 awards thus far have been unfunded approvals this year, as we wait on anticipated bond sales by the state treasurer's office, and then unfunded approval project counts and dollar amounts per county, as well as our workload list, project counts and dollar amounts per county.
All right, well, this is being explained to me. I'm looking at the wrong number, so, all right, thank you. You just pointed it out.
So she just say it all again?
No. Okay, thank you.
Good question, though. That's a fair question, and
Okay, it's right here, yeah.
appreciate the
Okay,
information.
I appreciate the math, thank you.
Very welcome.
Other questions by members? Okay. Are there any public comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion? Motion by Assemblymember Davies, seconded by Member Smith. If we can have a roll call.
Senator Laird?
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi?
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci?
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies?
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva?
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales?
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt?
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that's a unanimous approval.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. We're going to go ahead now and move on to our next action item, which is corrections to emergency regulatory amendments to the school facility program. Excuse me, Mr. Guantanamo.
Thank you. We're on stamp page 103 of the agenda. This is a correction item to the regulation package approved by the board at its June 25th meeting. This regulation was the second package that staff had sent to the board for approval regarding matching shares in the program and the modernization supplemental grants related to 75-year-old facilities, minimum essential facility grants, and transitional kindergarten classrooms. In preparing the regulatory package for this item, staff realized we had duplicated 2 sections of the regulations related to minimum essential facilities. On stamp page 104, for the record, for OL purposes, we are removing section 1859.77.5 that was incorrectly added in that June item. And on page 107, just for the record, there are no changes to that one, but 1859.78.91 is the section we're intending to keep for this item. Secondarily, we made a few corrections on the application for funding, the form SABO 5004 in the item on stat page 112. In the instructions, we added the word section for parity to a few parts of the instructions. And more importantly, we corrected in alignment with the rest of our program for enrollment purposes that we pulled out from CBED's data, not CalPAD's data. So you'll see those reflections on the item highlighted in yellow and both underlined as well. With that, as soon as the board approves these regulations, we will add it to the June package and submit that to OL probably within the next week or so.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Okay. Are there any public comments on this item? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
Yes, make the motion.
Moved by Senator Choi, is there a second? Second by Member Morales. Took me a second. All right, could you please have roll call?
Senator Laird?
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi?
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assembly Member Marisucci?
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assembly Member Davies?
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assembly Member Quirk Silva?
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales? Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt?
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that's another unanimous approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We'll go ahead now and move on, Ms. Kirk, to the next action item, which is proposed emergency regulatory amendments, again, for the school facilities program, for Proposition 2. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item is on stamped pages beginning with 181 of today's agenda. I'm very pleased with this third action item today to present the proposed emergency regulations to the State Allocation Board that would implement the natural disaster assistance provisions in Proposition 2 for the school facility program. Voter approval of Proposition 2 in November 2024 made in part a new education code section operative that authorizes the board to provide interim housing assistance, which in this context refers to interim school facilities such as portable classrooms, and any other assistance to school districts and county offices of education impacted by a natural disaster for which the governor declared a state of emergency. The statute requires these funds to supplement funding from insurance or any other local, state, or federal government disaster assistance, and it authorizes districts to retain savings for use on high priority capital outlay purposes. Additionally, this statute provides that a grant provided under this authority does not affect an applicant's eligibility for most school facility program funding, with one notable exception that requires a new construction eligibility update for portable classrooms that are purchased with funding for interim housing following a natural disaster. This topic was discussed at 4 stakeholder meetings earlier this year. In presenting this third set of proposed regulatory amendments to implement Proposition 2 provisions for the board's consideration, I'd like to take another opportunity to again express appreciation to the many stakeholders who have participated and provided input in these stakeholder meetings, informing regulatory development for the board's consideration. The agenda items and stakeholder letters that we received from each of the 4 stakeholder meetings held on this topic are compiled and included as attachment H in today's agenda. I also want to mention that following voter approval of Proposition 2 this past November, the board acted just a month later in December 2024 to approve staff's recommendations for several policies to implement certain time-sensitive provisions of Proposition 2. One of those policies was to specify that school districts could use the existing appeal process to request natural disaster assistance under the new statutory authority in the interim period while OPSC worked to develop regulations implementing these new provisions. To date, OPSC has received the first 2 requests from school districts under this new authority, which are presented as appeals in today's agenda for the board's consideration. I'd like to provide an overview of the proposed regulations that are the subject of this action item. The text of the proposed regulations is available on attachment B, which begins on stamped page 197 of today's agenda. In part, the proposed regulations propose a new form, the application for natural disaster assistance, which would be used by school districts or county offices of education to request assistance under the statute. A non-regulatory checklist is also proposed as a resource for districts completing the application. That is shown on attachment D, but there's no board action or recommendation since it's only provided as a resource and non-regulatory in nature. The proposed regulations specify that the state of emergency must be open at the time the application is submitted. That refers to the status of the state emergency as indicated on a website from the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. They do consider states of emergency to be open throughout the recovery period. Additionally, the proposed regulations apply to applications submitted to our office on or after October 31st, 2024, which would be subject to matching share requirements for the school facility program, including any applicable sliding scale adjustments for the state and local matching share under Proposition 2. Financial hardship assistance is also available to qualifying school districts requesting assistance under these provisions. And the proposed regulations provide an option for districts eligible for financial hardship assistance to access an advance apportionment of up to 25% of their apportionment for design costs. Additionally, the proposed regulations would expand our longer-standing definition of interim housing for school facility program purposes, which historically has referred only to lease of portables to house pupils displaced during a modernization project at a school site. The expanded definition is proposed to include the rental or lease of classrooms used to house pupils temporarily displaced as a result of modernization or construction of classroom facilities, or the lease or purchase of classrooms or ancillary facilities obtained due to a natural disaster. Additionally, the proposed regulations clarify when adjustments to the school facility program eligibility will be made as a result of a district's receipt of natural disaster assistance funding under this new authority. Specifically, the proposed regulations outline a process by which the required new construction eligibility adjustment specifically for portable classrooms purchased for interim housing following a natural disaster would occur. Another provision is proposed that would allow an adjustment to a district's new construction eligibility for any classrooms destroyed or rendered unsafe to occupy due to a natural disaster declared on or after July 3rd, 2024, the date that Assembly Bill 247 was chaptered, that will not be replaced by the district. The purpose of this provision is to recognize that although new construction baseline eligibility in the school facility program typically looks at a district's capacity at a point in time and compares that to its projected enrollment 5 or 10 years into the future. If classrooms and facilities are destroyed in a natural disaster, there may not be a need immediately for the district to replace these facilities, but there could be, under this proposed provision, an adjustment made to their baseline new construction eligibility that could enable them to access state funding for replacement of those facilities further into the future, perhaps 15 or 20 years later, if enrollment trends indicate a need at that time. There's also a proposed provision that would authorize the board to consider making adjustments for classrooms destroyed or rendered unsafe to occupy due to a natural disaster occurring prior to July 3rd, 2024, that a district elects not to replace on a case-by-case basis. The fund sources for interim housing assistance following a natural disaster and the proposed regulations. The fund source for interim housing would come from new construction bond authority, recognizing it is temporarily adding capacity to the school site. The fund source for other assistance following a natural disaster may come from new construction or modernization bond authority as applicable to the scope of work in the district's request. The proposed regulations also include several provisions to ensure the statutory provision that this assistance would supplement insurance or other government disaster assistance is in place. Specifically, the district upon request would indicate any such insurance or other government disaster assistance funding that has been received for the same purpose or scope of work in their request. If they have not yet received that assistance, but reasonably expect to, the district would need to provide an estimate of the funding it expects to receive, a narrative statement indicating the necessity for this assistance prior to the receipt of insurance proceeds and or other government disaster assistance, as well as acknowledgement of a proposed reporting requirement that would require annual reporting from the time the application was submitted until all insurance claims and applications for disaster assistance are closed, to indicate the receipt of any funding from those sources that is potentially duplicative. And additionally, acknowledgement of a potential future adjustment to any apportionment that would offset receipt of insurance proceeds and or other government disaster assistance funding for the same purpose or scope of work funded by board approval of a request. For requests for other assistance following a natural disaster, the proposed regulations specify that such apportionments are at the board's discretion for districts impacted by a natural disaster for which the governor declared a state of emergency, and that in making this determination, the board may also consider any previous school facility program apportionment related to the disaster and all information provided by the district in its request. The proposed regulations also include amendments to our application funding priority order for new construction and modernization projects to integrate applications for natural disaster assistance among the top priorities for funding consideration. Finally, apportionments for natural disaster assistance would be subject in the proposed regulations to program oversight and accountability requirements that are applicable to other core school facility program funding sources, including fund release requirements, including submittal of a grant agreement prior to fund release. There are 2 new grant agreements included as part of today's agenda that are specifically tailored to these apportionments. They would also be applicable to, these apportionments would also participate in the priority funding process outlined in existing regulations following receipt of an unfunded approval, and expenditure reporting requirements, substantial progress requirements, and audit requirements would also apply. Finally, in conclusion of a lengthy summary, our recommendations for this action item are on stamped page 194A of today's agenda. And they include that we recommend the board adopt the proposed amendments to the school facility program regulations indicated on the revision 1 version of attachment B. Secondly, that the board adopt the proposed request form, which is indicated on attachment C. That the board adopt the proposed grant agreements on attachments E and F. That the board adopt the proposed amendments to the fund release authorization form on attachment G. That the board authorize us to file, the proposed regulatory amendments with the Office of Administrative Law on an emergency basis. And finally, that the board adopt a policy requiring submittal of the 5-year school facilities master plan that is required under Proposition 2 as a condition of participation in the school facilities program by the time the 100% complete expenditure report is due for the project for any natural disaster assistance apportionment. This is not reflected in the proposed regulations because it would be a component of future proposed regulations on the 5-year master plan, but is instead proposed that the board adopt this timeline for submittal of the master plan on a policy basis for these applications, essentially giving them until project completion to submit the required master plan. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. I know that was a lot. That's a lot of information. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Proposed reg. Seeing none. Do we have any public comment? We do have one. Okay, it's Christina Tokes. If you're online, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can address the board.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Christina Tokes, and I am the Chief Facilities Executive for the Los Angeles Unified School District. To begin, I just wanted to thank OPSC staff for their guidance and support on this appeal request. As you all know very well, in January of this year, the Eaton and Palisades wildfires devastated large parts of LA County, leaving thousands of our affected students without access to their regular school sites. In most cases, LA
Ms. Stokes, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I think you're ahead one item, so we'll take you up on the appeal item. This is for the proposed regulations. Did you have any comments on those? No. Okay. All right. We will get to you, I promise. Okay. Is there any other public comments? No. Okay. All right. With that, is there a motion to adopt the emergency
Motion to approve.
Moved by Ms. Lasso and seconded by Senator Choi, I believe. Yep. Please have a roll call.
Senator Laird?
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi?
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci?
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies? Aye. Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva?
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morellis? Morellis, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt?
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're now going to go ahead and move to our appeal items. The first one is an appeal item from the Los Angeles Unified School District. I'll turn it to Ms. Burke first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This first appeal item is on stamped pages 390 through 480 of today's agenda. This item presents a request from the Los Angeles Unified School District for interim housing assistance following a natural disaster under new Proposition 2 authority. LA Unified requests approximately $13.6 million in state funding for interim housing, specifically temporary portables, at two of the sites damaged by the Palisades fire this past January, specifically Marquez Elementary School and Palisades Charter High School. The request is for the design, lease, purchase of equipment, site work, installation, and eventual removal of interim facilities at two sites, including portable classrooms and ancillary facilities. This request is for reimbursement funding based on contracts and purchase orders submitted by the district as they have moved forward with leasing portables and readying sites and placement of the temporary facilities on the sites. LA Unified has filed an insurance claim and applied for federal disaster assistance funding, but they do not yet have an estimate or timeline for receipt of those funds, which the Office of Public School Construction knows from working with other districts impacted by previous disasters can be a multi-year process. Recommendations are on stamped page 394 of the agenda. Staff recommends approval of this request as an unfunded, technically two requests for the two sites. We recommend approval of those requests as unfunded approvals and recommend that if the board does approve the requests, that the projects be subject to requirements currently in the proposed regulations on which the board just voted, specifically including substantial progress and expenditure reporting requirements, the timeline for submittal of the 5-year master plan by the time the 100% expenditure report is due, and reporting regarding any insurance proceeds or government disaster assistance that may be received from the time the application was submitted until all claims and applications for such funds are closed. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Okay, thank you. Before I move to the board, LA Unified School District has joined us, I think, both via Zoom and in person to answer any questions from the board. I do believe Ms. Christina Tokes is on Zoom. I believe we may also have a Ms. Amy Neenan. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct. I apologize. And Mr. Sasha Horowitz is here in the room. So I don't know if the district would like to provide comments. Am I moving to, I believe, maybe Ms. Tokes first or yes, okay. Ms. Tokes, did you want to provide the board any comments on the appeal?
Yes. Since I already spoke a little bit, I'll just dive right in and just say that I'm Christina Tokes. I'm the Chief Facilities Executive for the LA Unified School District. As you may know, we had two campuses that were significantly destroyed by the fires, Marquez and Palisades Charter School, where we were left with no choice but to relocate those students for the rest of the past school year. But thanks to the bravery of our local firefighters, CAL FIRE, LA Unified, as soon as the fires were put out, began working closely with FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, Cal OES, the governor's office, DGS, and other agencies to start the environmental testing and rebuilding process so that we can safely bring students back to campus and reopen those schools as soon as possible. Today, we're here to request board approval for our appeal for natural disaster assistance for the interim housing on these two school sites. This interim housing will allow LAUSD to reopen both of these schools for this current school year in 2025 and enable students to return to their neighborhood school sites while permanent classrooms and other structures are being rebuilt. You may be wondering why we are going through this hardship provision. On December 3rd, 2024, as you know, this body adopted interim policies allowing districts impacted by a declared natural disaster to submit a school district appeal request for case-by-case consideration until formal regulations are in place. And for that reason, OPSC coordinated with LA Unified to recommend that the district submit these projects using the appeal process so they can be considered by the board in this manner. So as part of today's agenda, thank you for adopting the natural disaster assistance regulations, which would allow requests like these to follow the regular approval process moving forward. And thank you for the opportunity to discuss this item with you. We respectfully ask you to approve this appeal, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else from LA? Okay, that would like to speak? Okay, are there any comments or questions from the board, either for staff or for the LAUSD representatives? Okay, all right. Are there any public comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion on the appeal item as recommended by staff?
Motion.
Motion by Assembly Member Quirk Silva and I think seconded by Senator Choi. Please have a roll call.
Senator Laird?
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi?
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci?
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies? Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva? Aye. Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales? Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Pearl?
Aye.
Pearl, aye. And that's a unanimous motion carried.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for being available to answer any questions. The district appreciate that. Before we continue, I'd like to suggest that we take up the remaining two appeal items out of order to hear the second request that we have for the natural disaster assistance funding next, which comes from Pioneer Union Elementary School District in Butte County. Are there any objections to me taking this out of order? Okay, seeing none. All right, you go ahead and proceed, Ms. Kirk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item begins on stamped page 604 of today's agenda. The item presents, as Madam Chair indicated, a request from the Pioneer Union Elementary School District in Butte County. It is the first request we have received seeking natural disaster assistance funding for other assistance under the new Proposition 2 authority. The district requests an expedited apportionment. It is a single school district in Butte County, with the district's only school being the Berry Creek Elementary School. The former Berry Creek Elementary School facility was completely destroyed by the North Complex West Zone fire in September 2020. With no facilities to accommodate its displaced pupils, the district had to relocate students to two neighboring school districts for several years. In nearly 5 years since this fire, the district accumulated nearly $16.9 million to reconstruct the school, comprised of $11.5 million in insurance proceeds attributable to reconstruction, $4.4 million approximately in school facility program new construction funding from the board's approval of an appeal in April 2024, and nearly $1 million in other local funding. With these funds, the district completed construction of its main building and reopened the school last year. The main school building contains classrooms, a temporary office space, and the school library. However, the district's rebuilding plan has a total estimated cost of more than $24.3 million, which exceeds their available funds. As a result, they have not yet been able to construct the planned second building, which is the school's multi-purpose room, cafeteria, and permanent administrative space. The district's request is for board approval of approximately $7.1 million in additional state funding, including about $2 million in financial hardship assistance for which the district is eligible to fund construction of the second building. The board item outlines details from the $4.4 million school facility program funding that was provided by the board in April 2024 as an expedited new construction apportionment, which in part approved use of the district's enrollment at the time of the fire in 2019-20 of 56 pupils, rather than its more recent enrollment of 32 pupils at the time the application was processed in 2023-24. The April 2024 approval was also based on recognition that the district had an urgent need to house its displaced pupils within its own facilities, rather than based on traditional new construction eligibility, considering a projected need to house future pupils. The pre-disaster enrollment of 56 pupils would ordinarily equate to 3 classrooms to be constructed under the school facility program, but the district's reconstruction includes 5 classrooms due to operational needs the district has referenced in serving pupils ranging from grades K through 8. The board item also details several supplemental grants that were included in the $4.4 million new construction apportionment last year, in part including a new school allowance intended partly to provide support for minimum essential facility schools, a geographic percent factor due to the location in a remote geographic area, and a small size project grant. The district's insurance coverage provided, as mentioned earlier, about $11.5 million based on like-kind replacement, using materials of like kind and quality for like occupancy, plus required code upgrades. The previous school was a mix of permanent and portable facilities, and the reconstruction plan consists of permanent modular facilities that were in part selected for the classrooms due to their increased fire resistance moving forward. The rebuild also includes additional square footage compared to the previous school. Staff did not provide a specific recommendation on this item in recognition that it is the first request received under the new authority enacted with Proposition 2, authorizing the board in its discretion to provide any other assistance to a district impacted by a natural disaster for which the governor declared a state of emergency. I would note that the district requested an expedited apportionment. At the time the board approved the district's appeal in April 2024, there was sufficient general fund money available for the school facility program for the board to provide a direct apportionment that allowed the district to access funds once they met fund release requirements. However, at this time, there is not sufficient cash availability to the school facility program for the board to consider a direct apportionment for this request. Therefore, if the board opts to approve the district's request, it would be as an unfunded approval, and the district would then participate in the priority funding process, positioning them to request funds following an anticipated spring 2026 Proposition 2 bond sale. If the board approves the district's request, staff does recommend that the board require the project to be subject to requirements in the regulations adopted earlier in this meeting, including substantial progress and expenditure reporting requirements, the time frame for submittal of the required 5-year master plan by the time the 100% complete expenditure report is due for the project, as well as an annual reporting requirement on any future receipt of additional insurance proceeds or government disaster assistance funding for the same purpose or scope of work in the request. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do believe the district and the representatives have joined us today here in person to answer any questions from the board. I believe we have Darcy Pollock, the superintendent, Patsy Oxford, the former superintendent, and Joe Dixon of Smart Schoolhouse, who's the district's consultant. Would the district like to address the board at all? Or just be available for questions? It's up to you.
I'd just like to thank you considering our appeal. It means the world to us. I can't even tell you. So thank you so much. And thank you to OPSD for all their help on our journey, because it's a big hill when you're one school district. It's tough. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Yes, Member Burksall.
I can see your passion for the district. Thank you for being here. I just was interested in the numbers at the one school total in the district. And the numbers of students is this a K-8 or?
We're a K-8.
K-8. And the numbers went from 56 to 32. Do you have any thoughts on the numbers going down, and are there going to be any expectation that they'll go back up?
Yeah, our numbers have already increased by 50% since the school opened a year ago. And we, again, when school just started last week, had an additional 5 students, and we anticipate growing at a steady rate. Similar to Paradise, we're very similar in our numbers to their, the Concal area, their one school district. And they're 2 years ahead of us. And so we pretty much parallel our enrollment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Senator Choi?
Yeah, also I have concerns about the total number of students that you are serving as one school, one class used to be class school. This is 32 students, and right now the amount you are asking is over $9 million, $7.4 million plus additional $2 million. Is that correct?
The total request is about $7.1 million, which includes $2 million roughly in financial hardship assistance.
Yeah, that comes out to be each class for eighth grade divided about the 4 students at each grade level. And if we approve $9 million, that comes out to be each student over $300,000 per student for this building alone, nothing else. So this is, I don't know, when you consider cost effectiveness, whether this is and also you have already built the school in an expanded space already. You used to operate without the fire, you wouldn't have faced this building project, but because unfortunate fire, you rebuilt the original school with the expanded space. Now this additional funding request is on top of original space you have recovered, but it is more of a, to me, luxurious. I don't know for that the small number of students, or whether that's a good justification for good use of this funds where a lot of disasters happen and very important resources, so whether we should allow that or not, that's I'm right now questioning.
And maybe to just piggyback on that comment, maybe you could sort of address, like we're talking about a TK8 school, which makes it very difficult to write and have 30 to 40 students. I'll just say, because I know you said you just increased. So I think to Senator Choi's comment and question, can you also sort of address the school facility, the way it's been constructed? And maybe part of that is due to, curriculum delivery, right? Because you're talking across multiple grades. I think we need to have a better understanding about the space. Seems large for the amount of students.
I could start. If I could start, actually, the square footage being rebuilt is less than what was there before. The total square footage, so the classrooms are built, but the core facilities that are required in any school, the minimal, the CDE would call them minimal essential facilities, need to be built as well. So we had, and I volunteered for this, I'm doing this for free. We had the architect do an analysis of what type of building would be the best value for the district. So here, Berry Creek is up in the mountains, so it has a snow load issue. Logistically, it's really difficult to get to. Workforce issues. So we had this analysis done in the buildings that were selected, which aren't really what we would call modular. We're calling it that here, but they're called pre-engineered building. They're structural steel frame. Turned out to be the best value for the district. So it's about the same footprint that we had before. It's consolidated into 2 buildings now instead of several buildings. And it was the best value that we could reach for that project. So maybe educationally, the superintendent can explain why you need some of these other facilities as well, if that's okay.
And also, when you're building a school, those facilities, whether you have 50 students or 500 students, you need a cafeteria. You need a multi-purpose room, especially when it's snowing and inclement weather situations. You need the same facilities no matter how many students that you have. And one of the things that we also ran into with our fire is our fire came down and burned up the school and then came back. So our loss was catastrophic below the ground, underground. It was such a hot fire. So when we were building, and that's how we ran into different escalations, were based on the sense of our fire.
Thank you, Monica. I know we have a member that has got to head out, so I want to make sure I capture any other comments from the board. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to make sure it's important to note that this is for phase 2. Phase 1 already built the classrooms. So phase 2, the funding that's being requested is for the additional multipurpose, the admin, and the cafeteria. When we, as the department, reviewed the project, we reviewed the entire school, which included not just the classrooms, but also these essential facilities that we think are important for a school. I just want to clarify that this phase is for the additional classroom, the multipurpose, the admin, the cafeteria that were not built as part of phase.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Go
ahead.
I have
Yes. Assemblymember Suchi, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate, the disaster and your efforts to rebuild. I do have similar questions. The total price tag, I think the cost of the rebuilding project total is $24.3 million. And, I just don't feel like I have enough information to justify supporting such a large expenditure for such a small number of students. I mean, I know that I'm just thinking out loud here, but I know that there are unique challenges facing rural school districts that are geographically isolated. And at the same time, if we're thinking about our general goal of trying to do the greatest good for the greatest number, I'm just concerned that, of approving something with this price tag for such a small number of students. And so I wanted to see if the school district can like especially address, you know, if there are unique circumstances of, you know, of being a rural single school district, the remote location of the school, to justify the price tag for such a small number of students.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Superintendent, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you, monitors.
You have to really talk loud.
So, a couple things. We started the school year with 50 students. We have, I think, 5 that are coming in this week. So there is a trend of growth. Also, we are outside of Oroville, up a hill. I don't know the different elevations, but it's from flat to the lake where it's a 35, 40-minute drive on a windy hill up and down. And when it's winter weather, I mean, there's snow and ice as weather pertains. In addition, currently we are paying one of our drivers to go down 45 minutes to pick up food because we contract through a close district, the closest in Oroville, to pick up breakfast and lunch each day. And so we just pick it up in bulk. And for the day, we try to do it twice a week to be mindful of finances. You know, we need to do it every day because it just wasn't working the first week of school. So those are just other side notes that I find important, as well as right now my office and with my administrative assistant, we share an office, which was the preschool, the TK room. And so now they are with it's a TK K1. Yes, class sizes are small, but the trend is an upward trend of growth. So thank you.
Go ahead, Member Watson.
So at your optimal peak enrollment, what would be the number of your highest enrollment based on this school site that you?
Are you talking about a trend, the highest that has been there? Or
No, it's for capacity, your high
capacity, you need to
Pre-fire, we were at 90 students.
The memo shows pre-disaster enrollment of 56.
I'm sorry. So Assemblymember Mersucci is asking about the number. Does staff know from previous?
Staff understanding for 2019-20, the district had enrollment of 56 pupils, which in the April 2024 item was considered the pre-disaster enrollment. But is that different than what the district is?
They're asking about pre-fire, right?
Correct.
Pre-fire enrollment
Was at the peak 90.
but we don't know what year that was. I assume 1920, we have it at 56. Does that sound right?
And it was 2020, it was 56, you said?
56, is that correct?
56.
2019-20.
Or 2019-20, it was 56.
And 2 years before that, when the Paradise Fire occurred, our enrollment went up because of the fire, and then gradually went up and down a little bit due to the transiency of the Paradise community.
Okay, question. Yes, go ahead, Assemblymember Davis.
What is the max capacity of the new building that you can actually hold?
We have 5 rooms. It could be 100 and between 120 and 150, depending on the grade level.
Okay, thank you.
But I wouldn't have an office. That's the question. So there's an opportunity right now.
Nor would they have a place to eat or a kitchen.
So I guess the question is, again, to Mr. Morales's comment. So what we're looking at is not the classrooms. We are looking at the multi-purpose room, the cafeteria, and a small administrative building. Is that correct? So on that note, you just talked about the fact that food is being brought up with the cafeteria being built. You'll be doing food in-house then? Would that be saving some back and forth as well as funds from contracting with the Oroville district, or no?
Yeah, I believe that's the intention.
Okay.
We can't do anything now, though. We don't have.
Yeah, understand. No, I understand. I'm just trying to get a sense of
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
future plan. Other comments or questions?
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, go ahead.
Since it's a remote community up a hill, there's also the plans in the community through other outside grants with, to rebuild the little park, not with this funds, but to, it's like the hub of this community as a whole as well. So when it comes to a multi-purpose center with, and a kitchen, it's bringing people together in the community as well.
Thank you.
Because there's nothing, there's nothing.
I understand.
Thank you.
Of course. Other
I'm not sure if
comments or
just- let me
questions?
just add, another important aspect about a multi-purpose room, particularly in this area, is they would have the opportunity to have physical education in the winter, because it rains quite a bit, it snows. But it might also be helpful, and Mr. Dixon has a lot of experience in building schools throughout the state. These buildings are required to have additional components for things like snow load, and they're built back to be more resilient. So maybe Mr. Dixon can talk about, the cost to build schools in California. It seems like a big price tag, but for these types of facilities, particularly in this area, it may not be that common.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I worked in two districts. I worked in Capistrano and Santa Ana. I retired 10 years ago. And since that time, the cost to build schools is exponential. In the Bay Area, they're up to like $1,500 a square foot. In Orange County, it's over $1,000 a square foot. In Butte County, which is a rural area, really hard to get to, and it's really hard to get contractors right now, it's easily over $1,200 a square foot. It's really expensive to build right now, as I'm sure you all know. And we have new regulations that come in every 3 years through the Division of State Architects. So when a school burns down, we have to rebuild it to current code. And the current code is much, much tougher to achieve than when they were building Berry Creek 25 years ago. I remember too, they received the insurance money, but the school burnt down 5 years ago. They had to house kids, and they had to pay to house those kids too. So their interim housing and temporary housing and other expenses had to be paid out of some of the insurance proceeds they had as well. I know it's expensive. I know it's expensive per square foot, or per kid, I should say. But to me, every kid deserves a good school. Every kid deserves those core facilities, not just classrooms. As Mr. Morales said, what do we do in the winter for PE, which is a mandated program in California for students? Right now, these kids aren't getting the services that the kids in Orange County are getting, the kids in other parts of the state. And honestly, I believe every kid deserves that.
I appreciate that. I will just note, when discussing this with staff, I mean, this one is, I think, tough because it again, to some of my fellow board members' points, price tag seems very high for the amount of students we are talking about, and I would agree with that. This is a broader question that I think that needs to continue for us to discuss and continue to explore. Perhaps this is where our legislative members can assist in some of those discussions, which is, these small rural districts. How do we treat the building of those compared to some of our other larger districts? And I think, I don't know the answer, but I think it's a tough question because we do have some students who do have to travel a great distance, and they may be in a very small district. So, what does that look like when we talk about essential buildings that are required? So anyway, just a comment, but I hear the board members' comments. With that, is there any other last comments or questions from the board?
if I may.
Yes, Assembly Member.
So for the staff, I mean, in terms of one, it's my understanding that the staff does not have a recommendation on this item. Is that correct?
That is correct,
Okay.
Assembly.
Um, was there any analysis in terms of, how do we balance all these equities of a rural district, of a remote location, of a small number of students with the price tag? I mean, does staff have any opinion as to, the overall analysis and the balancing of those equities?
Yes, I think to that point, Assembly Member, in the apportionment that the board approved in April of 2024, the roughly $4.4 million new construction apportionment, there were included in that amount was a number of supplemental grants that exist in the school facility program. They're outlined in the item on pages, 608 and 609 of the item. But in part, some of those supplemental grants are intended to address certain costs that we know are higher for smaller rural districts. For instance, there was a geographic percent factor that provided an additional 5% increase based on the district's location in Butte County, being more rural and therefore having some increased costs, presumably, as well as a new school allowance that provides additional funding in the program for instances when a district is constructing a new facility and perhaps has some additional need for minimum essential facilities and other costs, as well as the small size project supplemental grant that recognizes in the program that there can be increased costs for a small size project that can't take advantage of the same economies of scale that a larger project may be able to access. So there are some supplemental grants that are available in the program to try to address some of those cost pressures that can be faced in certain areas and certain circumstances. Those were factored into the previous apportionment for the district, but as indicated in their current request, that funding from their prior apportionment, the insurance proceeds received to date, and the not quite $1 million that they've been able to gather from other local sources is still less than the overall estimated cost for their plan of the full reconstruction.
All right, thank you.
Any other last thoughts? Okay,
Can I go? Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you for coming. And as a legislature, we know that the price of materials, the price of gas, everything has been going up when it comes to building housing. And I think that's something that's part of our job to be working on that so that we can bring the cost of building down to hopefully even reflecting other states when you look at the cost of building. So I understand where the cost is coming, and I'd make a motion to move.
before we move to that, did you have a comment? No, okay. Any other last comments? Okay. Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing? Through this, I want to thank you, and the clients are 100% underserved. This is a very poor community as well, so I didn't hear that through, some of this, and so that's the human side of it that I think is really just important to at least consider in your fiscal decision.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're going to go ahead and close comments out on that. Is there any public comments on this item? Seeing none. Okay. Do you have a motion by Assemblymember Davies, and the motion, just so I understand it, is to approve the appeal as an unfunded approval? Is that correct?
That's the way it's written on there.
Well, they didn't give us a recommendation, but that is what they're recommending because we.
Yes.
Okay. So, motion by Assemblymember Davies. Is there a second? Second by Jeremy Smith. Please have a roll call.
Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi.
Abstain.
Choi, abstain. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Abstain.
Marisucci, abstain. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Abstain.
Quirk Silva, abstain. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Anna Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
Did you call Senator Laird? No,
He stepped down. He stepped
he stepped in. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And the motion carried.
Okay. Thank you so much. Your appeal has been approved. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, with that, we will go ahead. We have one last appeal. I appreciate are we good to go with that still? Okay. With that? Okay. All right, we have one last appeal where Natomas Unified School District, Mr. Watanabe.
The last appeal is on stamp, page 481. This is for the Thomas Unified School District here in Sacramento County. The district's requesting exclusion of 9 portable buildings from their classroom inventory that were leased for purposes of intern housing beyond the timeframes allowed in the sort of program regulations. This district, under this modernization project that is on the header in the item, during the course of review, staff was processed the application and found that 15 portable classrooms were added after the new construction baseline was determined back in 1999. Under the new construction.
Just a second. Senator, do you have to go right this second or can you wait for this last appeal? Because you're my quorum. If you leave, I don't have a quorum. Well, for vote, quorum. No?
We need,
We need approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need you for vote.
Senator, we need you. Can you spare 5 minutes?
Thank you. Please, we appreciate that.
Is waiting out there.
Okay,
Okay, I'll go quick.
we apologize. Thank you.
You can fix them too.
The district doesn't disagree with the adjustment that the board made in May for 6 of the classrooms in the 15 classroom project, but the remainder 9 is they're asking for it to be reversed. Our regulations don't contemplate interim housing, but through all the documentation we've worked with on the district, we have confirmed that these classes were used for interim housing over the last 9 years, and they were removed from use in 2022. So in this particular case, we are recommending the board approve this appeal request for Thomas.
Thank you. I know we have a district representative, but in the air of time, unless there's questions, can I? Okay,
No, thank you.
great. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this item?
I move to approve.
Okay, before I do that, Assemblymember, I appreciate that. Is there any public comments? None. Okay, I have a motion by Assemblymember Marisucci. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Choi. Please have a roll call.
Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Senator Choi.
Aye.
Choi, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva. Abstain? Oh, she left. Oh, excuse me. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Anna Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you staying. Okay.
And
Yes, go ahead.
Chair, before we do adjourn,
Yes.
I'll need to get Senator Perez's vote on the minutes.
Oh, yes. Senator Perez, going back to have a vote on the minute?
Oh, yes, approve.
Great.
Perez, aye on the minutes. Thank you.
All right, one last item, our reports, discussion, and information items, Mr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reports, discussion, and information items begin on stamped page 836 of the agenda. Pleased to address any questions.
Any questions from the board? Any public comments on the side? Yes and no. Okay, this is not an action item, and so with that, we already took a closed session, and so we will go ahead and adjourn at 5:49. Thank you all. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.